Stavros. How are you doing?
I'm good, Georgie. How are you?
Not too bad. Surviving and thriving in these
Yes.
times. How's your Milan Fashion Week been? Are you okay?
Yes, it's been quite exciting, I think. I mean, I can hide, I saw one that I was expecting me and others, I think, more to see because it was Ralph Simon's debut in Prada. And of course, we're going to cover this topic today, but I also saw quite a lot of like the young guard of fashion designers, coming out, which I found like extremely interesting and exciting. Overall, I think it was good. It was a beautiful, nice break, creative wise, to our day-to-day basis, which is not always so creative, inspiring. Yes.
Who have you been dedicating your time to? Any guess?
And yes, well, first of all, and it was great because it was a Sunday as well, so I think it was, for me, one of the most anticipated shows was Raf Simons' debut in the menswear for Prada. And I love the show. I really want to hear your thoughts, actually, because we haven't catch up, but I really want like to hear your thoughts on this one. For me, there is always two ways to see a collection and see a show, actually. One is seeing purely the collection. And when I was looking at the collection, this beautiful juxtaposition of colors, of fabrics, of textiles, of, the jacquards and motifs. It was so beautifully put together. And also, in the beautiful set designed by Ram Koolhaas. And it almost felt when I was watching it that I feel the fabrics, I feel the textures, and I saw all the pieces that could make me dream and want to wear, and where I would go to wear them when I can, and it was absolutely beautiful, And the second part, which I see when I see a collection, especially right now, is I'm trying to think the mindset of the designers, and in this instance, you have like two brilliant minds, brilliant designers, that they're coming together. And I don't think that they're trying collectively to create an aesthetic in that sense, but what they're coming is a creative dialogue between them. And what we see is the result of this creative dialogue. And they challenge each other a bit. They have definitely, a lot of similar aesthetics, but I'm sure, sometimes they step out from the comfort zone, because one challenges creatively the other one. And I think this is what I found super beautiful, even with the after interview and hearing them talking about it. I find it super inspirational. It's so hard to say something opposite.
I
What
was
about you?
I was a little worried to talk to you because I knew that we were gonna disagree on this, and you know how much I
Yay.
know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, like creative disagreement. Love it. Tell me.
Because you know how much I love Raf and I love Prada, but I think for me, and I think Diet Prada said it best, is that a little bit of the mystery's gone. But I totally agree with you in that the textures were incredible, the long johns were beautiful. I so agree that you could almost feel the fabrics. That's such a good description. I totally relate to that. But for me, I found myself, and I think a lot of Instagram did as well, kind of spot checking for things that I know that I love from Raf, like, oh, that's a Raf this, and oh, that's a this. And I think sometimes when you do that, particularly in the realm of Prada, then it's lost its slight magic touch, if that makes sense. I can't deny that it was gorgeous and the coats were fantastic, but and also it's so impressive to think that Prada can take away the text and just have the shape and it still have such an impactful visual appeal. But I think for me, it was like an Easter egg hunt of Rafisms.
Yes.
Kind of and that's not necessarily a bad thing because those Rafisms are beautiful in their own self, but I think when it's in the context of Prada, I was like, oh, I've lost that kind of what's coming next, what's exciting, what's Miuccia thinking, and it was kind of laid out a little bit too explicitly for me. but then kind of all was forgiven with that gorgeous talk with the students, and I'm listening to them talk with each other, and I'm like, oh God, you both are really entertaining and magical, and hearing them speak about the clothes kind of gives them a new lease of life. So I'm kind of 50-50. I would definitely wear it and I can tell it's going to do well, but it's not exactly what I wanted.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, like this is a very reasonable way to put it, and the process of thinking. Like I really enjoy listening and hearing to you. Because I value your opinion so much, and I was thinking about it. This really was what I would expect to see in some ways, because or maybe it was welcoming for me because it kind of like made me feel safe and secure by seeing it. Like it's very, and comfort as well in many ways. And I'll explain you why I felt those emotions, because there's so much going on around us. Like, and we don't need to analyze it. We are in a very specific time and space. And I think that sometimes we need like this almost something that we can rely upon, and something that we feel comfortable, and something that is familiar with what we see.
I think that's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like that's kind of a thread that's run throughout
Yeah,
Milan, and actually same with Xenia, is
yeah,
that we have that kind of comforting familiarity in that there's the beautiful architectural video, there's the clothes divided into tonal looks, there's the kind of beautiful suiting, but there's like just enough newness in the fact that there's updated staples, or the fact that there's more cashmere and slight loungewear twist. But it's that kind of familiarity where we're like, okay, nothing too scary, like we're all a bit on edge at the moment, like we need the comfort. And I think quite a lot of brands are doing that.
I love this, what you said, because I found it almost like as a common thread between the big fashion houses, but also, a lot about like the young designers or the emerging designers. Somehow I feel that there is no such need as we are here, to satisfy, not to satisfy everyone, but we want to create collections that they will be appealing, and we can get that demographic and that demographic and that style and that style. I think that everyone at this period of time probably is looking back to their own DNA and what they became actually known for, what is the most familiar codes of each of the houses. With Xenia, for example, it went almost to this beautiful looking inside of the own body and context of work. It's enough newness going on, but it's more about the textiles, the textures, the fabrics, and somehow it creates a warmth. It's warming enough because as a customer, I see it as a buyer, I see it as a viewer. It's not really, and us, to put pieces, that they are beautiful, constructed, and have like a credible amount of work, and people can try it. But I think right now people are feeling in a place where they want like to feel safe and comfortable in what they're wearing, and somehow it's working that way.
Yeah, it was just really rich and comforting and gorgeous, and everything you kind of needed to open Milan Fashion Week. I think that's quite a good thread into a cold wall, because for me this was one of the best a cold wall collections. And I think rather than kind of looking for comfort, it was more in the thread that you just mentioned, looking inward, what do we do best, and then kind of bringing that out. I think this was one of his most kind of refined and honed collections. It was just so self-aware in a really good way.
Yes. I mean, I am in love with what Samuel is doing. I love Cold-WALL. I think, knowing him and seeing, his developments since he first began in this industry, it's a wonderful brand. It's a wonderful designer to see how he develops and evolves, and finding this fine and beautiful balance, every season of how much we're pushing the boundaries, but also, how much secure we are with what we are designing. And I felt that Samuel is coming from a real place of security right now. He knows what it works for his brand. He knows who the customer is. He's now progressing and evolving into also a bit more of a mature audience without alienating himself from the young generation and the youthful audience that always was and is, his really massive supporters. And he's intelligent. I really love this collection. I love the development of the knitwear. I think it's a beautiful and I love everything about it. And the development of the accessories was beautiful. Shoes, the sunglasses, the Macintosh coats. Like everything was there, but it was somehow very optimistic. Maybe it was the injection of colors, or maybe it was the way that was said, and that exactly what I find the fine balance about. It wasn't something, let's be super optimistic, but let's not be too contained and restrained with things.
I agree, because I think sometimes what Samuel does is the concept is there, but then the concept takes over the finish sometimes. In previous collections, sometimes the concept is won, or do you know what I mean? Sometimes there's a battle between idea and execution. And in some cases it's been beautiful, but kind of a little bit hard to grasp in a commercial sense. And sometimes it's been tailored to the younger client and a bit more commercial, and there's much less concept. And this time I think there was this kind of beautiful balance between tailoring to that younger market, as you mentioned, those gorgeous accessories that will do so well, and then as you said, that knitwear that just kind of elevates the whole thing. What I love in particular is that he kind of tailors towards these characters or customers. There's kind of the architect, curator, customer, and the slightly trendy younger millennial, but somehow that is all so cohesive, even though he often delivers them in separate segments. I was really, really impressed this season. So we both loved A-COLD-WALL, but bringing the tone down a little bit, I have to say Fendi, I think, was a little bit of a miss for me this season. I love Sylvia, I love Fendi, and when I thought about all the trends of kind of comfort and loungewear, I thought Fendi will do that better than no one else. Cashmeres, rich textures, and previous Fendi collections are already so kind of tactile and gorgeous and like cuddle up in front of Netflix energy anyway. But I felt like this collection had that kind of comfort padding. But the collaboration with Noel Fielding I thought was great in concept, but then in execution I was a little bit lost. What did you think?
Sadly, I have to agree fully with you, because she's someone that I'm not just me or you, I think like for the whole industry, we have huge respect of. She's an incredible woman. She's an incredible designer, and as you rightly said, for me it felt a bit of a disconnect between the first part to the middle part, when the paraded of the bold colored outfits, the padded ones. I understand the idea behind it. It was it's that kind of optimism and the happy moment, like kind of the surprising moment. It just somehow didn't 100% resonated or connected with me, in that level. It didn't create me like this moment of be like, oh, cool, this is what it is about. And the execution, maybe also because obviously we're watching things through this camera, so it's a matter of what camera wants like to translate to us. But from what I realize, what I seen, perhaps I would want something a bit less literal in some ways, like of what I saw on a garment. Having said that, again, I think that Fendi, for me, is feels, there is a certain, it's a huge amount of codes and DNA in that brand, and it's a safe brand for a lot of people to go and wear and buy. So sometimes, the rest could be interesting, but I think it's a matter of, connecting them a bit more, perhaps.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I think it feeds back to that point you made about what Sam did so well is just the right amount of optimism. But I think where Fendi might have faltered is too much optimism too soon. We're not quite ready for the
Yeah.
music video fun.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought Sine handled the balance of kind of optimism and of the moment being kind of in tune with how we're feeling quite well. Because this was the
Yes.
second purely digital showing, and they did it through a kind of a video game format, but the video game didn't really take you anywhere. It was just kind of taking you on a tour of the clothes. And I think, again, it comes back to that idea of seeing things that we're familiar with, or because they had all their signatures, the classic stripes revamped, and the bags and the shoes and that gorgeous kind of platform shape that do so well. So I thought that was quite an interesting way of presenting kind of an adaptation of what they did for their canvas collection, and just quite a smart way of doing things. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I'm listening to you because I have to be 100% honest here. Like I haven't seen it, so I'm like a viewer. Like I'm hearing and I'm reading your mind with that. I'm very, very honest with this because I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm going to spend some time to watch it for sure.
That's
And
okay.
actually, to you and your opinion is very interesting because when I watch it, I'm going to hearing your thoughts into
Oh,
this
it's
one.
good. I also think that's quite telling in itself, Sine's hot for me, but if it's not on your watch list yet, that's also a sign that maybe they're not quite in keeping with what they need to be just yet. Am I
Yeah, I mean, I watch them, don't get me wrong. I follow them and I watch them and I see them, from season to season. It just, yeah, it just it didn't happen. I really wanted to see, some of the young designers and like in those few days because it's also very busy buying wise.
Yeah.
But but yeah, no, I mean, I think. I really love, Milan Fashion Week, and I'll explain you why. I mean, I think that lately, there is a much of a renaissance in terms of like they're pushing quite a lot in terms of emerging designers
Mm.
and young brands. And I think this is a wonderful thing to see and experience. I saw, for example, Federico Cina and sorry, Di Matteo, like who they both are coming from who is on next, and I know they work from there, so it's a great it's a great partnership, like of Camera Moda and Alta Roma and Vogue Italia with Sarah Maino. They're doing like an excellent job there, like in discovering and promoting those talents.
Mm.
And I saw Magliano, for example, like which was so beautiful, that film, like the way that they did it. So this is like this young guard of designers, which I always, of course, want to keep an eye on and looking what they're doing. And I feel so hopeful as well when I see them with all this madness and difficult moments of this year, people to be, especially the young ones, like to be able to be still doing it, still fighting through and presenting something that is beautiful, even if, things could have been better for sure. But if they still are there and they're doing it, they're fighters.
Mm.
And that means that they can do a lot of things for the future. So for them, I have ultimate respect and admiration, regardless if my personal taste sometimes, gets in, and sometimes I like someone and sometimes I like less someone. But yeah, that's regardless of his context.
Yeah, I think that's a very lovely positive note to end on. I'm leaving on a high. That's so nice. So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Next time we talk about Milan, we'll be face to face in a different scenario.
Being like in a street, walking, but hey, even like this, it feels beautiful. So
No
thanks
complaints.
so
Thank you so much, Stavros. Such a pleasure to speak to you.
same. Bye bye.